My name is Nicholas Wicks. I'm 33 years old. I'm born and raised in Wisconsin Rapids. I am an Army veteran and a proud member of the community.
My name is Shane Blazer, and I am your mayor. As a lifelong member of this community, I care about our future. I have served as a police officer, the city clerk, a small business owner, and a member of the city council. This experience and my knowledge of city operations make me the best candidate once again for mayor. I'm seeking re-election because I want to continue to work and advocate for the citizens of Wisconsin Rapids. I have spoken with many of you and have met with you in my office. We need to work together collaboratively to address the issues ahead of us, which make me the only candidate for mayor to do this. My goal going forward is to continue to work the initiatives that I have started during my first term. This goal is to finish the transportation utility, providing a continuous review of services and positions within the city, and hopefully to make us and put us in a stronger financial position. And lastly, recently, we have started planning for a dog park, and I'd like to see that finished to the end.
I'm running for mayor because I love the city of Wisconsin Rapids. I am in a great position to make Wisconsin Rapids a stronger and safer city. My biggest goal as mayor is to find a new niche of business for the city. I will bring forth a plan to revamp our recycling center. When I was in college, I took a field trip over to Cranberry Creek, and they had told me that our recycling center is so small that after the recycling center fills up, the rest of the recycling goes to the dump. And I find that a little disturbing since we're paying taxes to recycle and it's going to the garbage. I would like for us to be a leader in recycling. I would like for us to communicate with local municipalities and cities around us that deliver their recycling to us and see if there's a way we can work together to start a co-op or some large recycling facility to benefit the area and the state. I have been in talks with truckers throughout the U.S. My dad is a truck driver, and he says that if I were to start a recycling center at this scale, he would be able to have the trucks here immediately. No questions asked, ready to go. And by doing a recycling center at that size and getting trucking companies into Wisconsin Rapids, I feel would start a domino effect in letting new business into the area with trucks, truck stops, gas stations, and housing, hotels, whatever the truckers would need. Plus, a positive note is that we can make the city a cleaner and more eco-friendly city. I don't really agree with raising taxes in any way, and you can call it what you want, but it seems like it's still an increase on taxes within the city. I think that we need to readdress the fuel tax that we pay throughout the state and look at where is the money going. That fuel tax is supposed to help pay for maintaining the roads within the state, so we need to look at where the money's going. We have multiple state highways that run through the city of Wisconsin Rapids and share a city road. We need to look at fixing Highway 13 from the very beginning of the city of Rapids all the way to the end. It's been in shambles for years. Highway 54, Highway 73, Highway 34 they're all in need of repair. Well, that should fall on the state first before it falls on the city residents, since those are state-owned roads.
So I've been involved with this project since probably day one. Even when I was on city council, if you've had a special assessment, and maybe it's a little bit hard to understand if you haven't had one, but I had one about 20 years ago after I first bought my house, and I was starting out a little more in life at that point, and it was a large expense. I can't remember how many thousands, but it was many thousands of this assessment. And the assessment is assessed to you for reconstruction of your street in front of your property. we get to pay a percentage. It's a small percentage, but it equals a very large number of that construction for the street, the infrastructure in the ground, and curb and gutter. And then if we happen to be lucky enough to have sidewalk in front of our house, we pay the full 100% price for that. And so lately, over the last several years, well, probably because this has been around for decades, that the costs have gone up so much, as everything does. But I've been seeing bills and talking to residents, even when I was on city council, and more so now that I'm in a mayor's office, that they're seeing bills 7, 10, I've seen them as high as $15,000. And for people on fixed income, for people that are just barely getting by, you look at jobs in the community, it's a financial burden, and it's causing a lot of hardship. And so council has also recognized this. And so we've been looking at different ideas, and we came up upon the transportation utility. And what it does is pretty much, it figures out average how many times we go in and out of our driveway. Whether it be, and it could be my own vehicle, it could be my friends, my relatives, the UPS guy, all those counts as a trip. And so all these trips are figured out across the community based on a different class of business. So if you're a fast food restaurant with a drive-through, these engineering consultants know roughly how many people go in and out of their driveway in a day. If you're at a residence, we have that. For a homeowner, it might be 9 trips a day on the average, some days more, some days less, but it averages out to about 9 trips, I believe. And so we compile all these trips into one bucket. And so what the council just did is they settled in that they wanted this transportation utility to raise about $500,000. And with that $500,000, we can eliminate the process of special assessments. So if your sidewalk needs to be repaired in front of your house, you won't get a bill. If your street is going to be reconstructed, you won't see a bill from the city. And so the goal is then with that $500,000, and you divide that by the number of trips across the whole city, you get a per trip cost. And for a resident like you and I, it's roughly $20 a year it's going to be. And so that divided out over 12 months on a utility bill, isn't a very large number. And that number, through my course of my life, will never equal to the cost of an actual special assessment. And I think it's a more fair method, and it's not so devastating financially on us personally. There are concerns about the utility becoming, growing too quickly, or we start funding other things for it. And so what the council's discussed, and I fully support, is for an ordinance to pass, it takes 4 council members at least, and then the mayor can break the tie, so that'd be 5. And so what they've been discussing is maybe creating what they call a supermajority vote. And we would write that in the ordinance, and then that supermajority would take 6 out of 8 council people. So the mayor's taken out of it. So I honestly, I couldn't behind the scenes get 4 people to side with me and then break the tie. This would take 6 actual city council members to vote and changing the rate or changing the ordinance to include more things. And I think that's what makes it more fair. And it's definitely a whole lot less impactful on residents financially. So I've learned a lot about economic development and business attraction through these last couple of years. Working with our community development department, I speak with them very regularly. We talk about projects. We get a lot of inquiries from businesses, and more so, the days of calling up a national retail chain saying, "Hey, we're interested in you coming to Rapids. Please consider us," have kind of gone by. What they do now is they hire developers, and those developers are given a specific matrix, such as income levels, median ages, population, and that's what they kind of look for when they're looking to cite a national retail store, or even a smaller scale, a statewide store. And so, we work with our local realtors, those efforts, and like I said, partnering up with developers. As an example, the housing complex behind the Centralia Center was come forth by a developer. and he developed that project and worked with the city and created the housing project. Well, ironically, he's the same developer for Starbucks. So these developers will represent multiple type of retail space. And so the goal is hopefully these developers, when they come in, they have a good experience, working with city staff, working in the community, and that they might recommend another type of store in our community. As you can see, we've got some growth going on, or some new construction, some updating and facelifting on A Street, and we don't have a lot of control over the type of business that goes in a zoning space, but we want to support them the best that we can.
Well, I would start by capitalizing on our area. I think that the city of Wisconsin Rapids is in an ideal area in the state of Wisconsin, if not the region. If you look at the map, we have two interstates that are side by side us. We have very easy access to the Twin Cities, Milwaukee, Chicago, Green Bay, and a lot of other cities within the state. I feel that that should be a drive or a eye-opener to businesses, that this is a great area that could help them with the low taxes that we have, the booming housing market we have in the area, and the ability to cut down on any costs in shipping, since we are located in a central location. Under my administration, I feel that it is most important that the actual city residents are allotted the funds. From one public works meeting I had attended, it seemed like they wanted to talk about doing stuff around the city with the money. But before we start looking at stuff that we need to repair or we need to build upon or make new in the city, we need to look at the families and the people that have been most affected by the coronavirus pandemic. They should be the first ones to get it. I had been in talks with a company here in the city of Wisconsin Rapids that I will not disclose the name of, and they had said that their boss did not distribute their funds that they were given by the federal government or the state government properly to help the employees during the beginning of the COVID pandemic. And I would like to put a stop to any of that and make sure that the employers are paying their employees properly. If elected mayor, we as a community can benefit more from helping our city residents than building a new park.
We were allocated that funding about maybe a year ago, and so we have that money currently set aside. And for me, I kept telling staff is I didn't want to create or construct something new that's going to create an additional tax burden down in the future, whether it be through maintenance, repairs, something or that will have a yearly budgetary cost. So my goal for that funding would be that we would somehow use it in a way that could benefit all the taxpayers. One example is through the budget process, the council approved using about $350,000 of that money. So we allocated $350,000 for the water construction part of the West Jackson Street reconstruction project. Water and Light has a significant project going on this year. It's under the ARPA funding guidelines. It was an acceptable use prior to them loosening up the restrictions. And this money being allocated to that will benefit ratepayers because it's not coming out of rates, which is a good thing. As for the balance of it, what I've done, if you've watched any city council meetings, is that we have sent out a request. I have sent out a request to the aldermen, to city staff to come together with their ideas on how we could use the remaining balance of about $1.2 million or so, that what projects they would like to see done. And we're collecting those right now. And once we get those all in, we're going to take them to the Finance and Property Committee, and then we're going to kind of go through the process, evaluate them, and then figure out what projects that would be a good use for the remainder of that funds. This topic has been covered in great detail over a several month period. It's been discussed on various committees, city council meetings, and there's people that agree and disagree with this decision or what I brought forth for the Common Council to decide. I went into this reevaluating and looking at the Public Works Department organizational chart. And that chart, it blended Park and Rec with the Streets Department, and I thought it was very important that Park and Rec stand alone. We have immense park system here, a lot of responsibilities, and I felt very strongly in making sure that that department was a standalone department that we could hold accountable for all these assets that we have in the community under the veil of Park and Rec. And so as I reevaluated and looked at the organizational chart, to me, I felt that a public works director position was a redundant layer of administration. I was here back when we had the first public works director. However, I was a young police officer at that time, and I found it unique that that public works director at that time was given the job of maintaining and having City Hall security. And I'm thinking, as a police officer, wouldn't that be a police department function? So I think that over the course of time and over this last stretch of a public works director, I just felt that it was redundant, and that we have 3 really strong, capable, intelligent department heads that oversee those 3 individual departments, that they can work together, solve problems, and put forth a good product, and we didn't need this extra level of management. So as I continued to evaluate the organizational chart, I looked at each position, and I tried to decide, and I honestly asked myself, if this position was vacant tomorrow, would I fill that position? And when I got to the Public Works Director position, I felt that I wouldn't probably seek to replace that position. So, and I knew it had about $150,000 price tag to it, and we seem to be having a stronger discussions about fiscal responsibility, watching our budgets even more closely, that I thought that, well, at this point, then if I'm going to do a reorganizational structure or new chart for the Public Works Department, I would eliminate the Public Works Director position. So I would say the advantage is there's cost savings, and that it does reduce some layer and level of redundancy, what I think in government, which we have too much of already.
I agree with the stance the current mayor chose to take. The director served a purpose under one administration, but not necessarily one that is needed for every administration. From what I have been told, it caused some issues with communication between the mayor and other departments within the city. The director's job ultimately should fall on the responsibility of the mayor. The mayor should be the one that communicates with the city garage, the city dump, the city, any department within the city. I do not see any necessarily negative impacts other than the fact that someone lost their job. But in the fact that the city doesn't have another employee, that is just that little bit more the city has to save when it comes to payroll. I extremely support any way we can save energy. One thing I would like to do to try to save energy within the city is, if the company that is in the process of buying the mill or has bought the mill, if they truly have no intentions of restarting our mill like they do at this time, then I would like to look at purchasing the building back from the company that owns the building, and maybe look into starting a new hydroelectric dam facility to help bring more power to the city. By doing so, since I feel that majority of the houses and buildings run on electricity for their power, even for heat, if we were to start a hydroelectric process, then that would be that much more funds to the city, more energy for the city. We could even send that out to other municipalities and towns and villages within the area to help relieve any oncoming financial stress they have with the current power situation.
Previously, we did have a grassroots effort for sustainability committee, and I believe it was a committee that was originally started in the mayor's office previously, and then it might have gone down in the community development department. And I'm not sure what happened or at what point, maybe it was because of COVID, that it just kind of fell apart. This committee had been very active in sustainability and events around the community and advising. And I fully would support us creating another sustainability committee. I know there's been some conversations between our community development department and a member, I believe he was a previous member of that committee. And I just think that if we look to do this under the community development department, I'd like to see that committee come together with a structure, a mission, and then go to Common Council and have it be formed as an official committee and not something through the mayor's office, because I think it would legitimize that committee a little bit more. So I have supported sustainable activities within the city. Our community development department does lead a designation, and they put together the information for the DNR for it's called what's it called? Yeah, it's the Green Tier Legacy Community. And to obtain that recognition from the DNR, we look at all our departments within the city. We accumulate all the sustainable activities that they do, compile it into a report, and submit it to the DNR. We have also earned, through our community development department, is a Soul Smart City, and it has to do with solar energy, making it easy for residents to apply and obtain the ability to use solar energy. So that's something we continue to do. And we also hope to, and we're working on it, and our community development department's working on it, is to become a bike-friendly community. And I think that would be a great designation for us, given all of our trails, the number of bike clubs that like to ride. I myself have been known to ride in the past, and so I hope that would be a designation I'd feel very comfortable and glad to see that we get.
The residents of the great city of Wisconsin Rapids should vote for me because I have youth and enthusiasm. I will be spending my time during my term as mayor getting out and being actively involved in the city. I want to be able to be at every school sporting event. I want to be able to touch every small business, every business within the city, and let them know that I have an open door policy and that if they need anything, that they can communicate with me. I definitely don't want to hide in an office and be stuck doing paperwork during my whole term. I do understand that paperwork is important, but getting out and letting the city know that I'm around is also important. I plan on using my life experiences to help me in my term as mayor. I would like to stand with the parents at the school board meetings that disagree with some of the situations within the school board. I would like to stand up for the right to life and stand up for injustices to my fellow man. I volunteered to join the United States Army to stand up and defend the Constitution of the United States of America. I plan to continue doing that for the rest of my life. In the Army, I was taught the Army values. The 7 Army values are loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. It spells leadership, and I am a great leader.
I hope the answers to my previous questions have given you the insight into why I think you should continue to vote for me in the April 5th election. You know, this is a local election. This isn't a platform for national politics or, we elect our leaders for that. This is about service to our community. It's about helping our neighbors. It's about trying to be financially responsible with our very own tax dollars. One of the chief responsibilities of a mayor is to be the administrator for the city. The city has approximately 180 employees from very diverse backgrounds, they provide, all the different services as many of our residents use. And the mayor needs to try to keep that ship going in the same direction with the guidance and, the oversight of the Common Council. And the mayor needs to be able to work with that Common Council. We have a $42 million budget, and that's, a large part, comes from our tax dollars. There's many other funding sources. I will continue to be highly accessible to the members of this community. I will continue to work hard in trying to put together the most responsible plan financially for our community. And I look forward to your continued support and your vote on April 5th. Thank you very much.